My name is Ricardo. I lead the OpenFin Container engineering teams. I'm actually super excited today because I'll get to talk about something that we've been working for a long time, and it's actually really good. But first, let's set the stage. So I'm just going to let this hang in the air for a few seconds, right? Keeping up with Chromium is critically important. Now, critically important, right? Yes, it gets faster. Yes, there's like new stuff, but those are not critical for anyone. When I say keeping up with Chromium is critical, I'm talking about I'm talking about security updates. A lot of work goes into keeping the engine itself safe. If you keep up with this, you'll know that last week, Google's Project Zero reported that Chromium had patched and disclosed 14 zero-day vulnerabilities last year. Google's not the only team working on the Chromium codebase. Microsoft, for example, has reported and patched 49 vulnerabilities this year. Now, we are seeing an increase in zero-day reporting. That's undeniable. It's not because as software developers we've gotten worse at writing code. It's actually we've gotten better at detecting, right? There's more sophisticated detection. There's more people trying to do it. And this is an obvious double-edged sword if you know how detection and disclosures work, right? Because as these vulnerabilities get patched, they're also disclosed. Meaning if you're sitting on an old, unpatched version, you might be sitting on a publicly known vulnerability. I mean, we know this, right? We've been working on this problem for a long time, and since 2019, we're actually co-stable with Chromium. Oh, by the way, these are not part of the presentation. This is just me flexing. As an aside, we're the only commercial container that's co-stable with Chromium and Electron, and we're the only commercial container that tracks and patches zero-day, so I'm done with the flexing. Back to the presentation. Cool, so let's take a look at 2020, like a perfectly normal year. Chromium released 7 versions, from 80 to 87. OpenFin tracked those versions, and we released 4 major upgrades, basically 1 per quarter, which was kind of our target. But 2022 is going to be very, very different. Chromium is scheduled to release 12 versions this year. That means that we need to pick things up as well, and we're scheduled to release 6 major versions in 2022. Now, if you're an OpenFin customer, I know what you're thinking. That sounds great. I know, I get it. Upgrading takes a concerted effort, right? There's regression testing, there's deployment. It's a lot of work. I know this, but it's also a really important problem. And the thing that I'm excited about talking is not the fear-mongering around the security stuff. It's actually what we're doing to sort of help everyone sort of upgrade. So our methodology in 2022 is to produce 3 distinct build types. Our focus is twofold. 1, to reduce the footprint on minor versions and patches so that people can consume them much quicker. And the other one is to provide early access to versions that have a large footprint. Basically give you time to do all the validation you need and still land on time. Let's break it down. So first build, security patch. These builds are not going to include any bug fixes. They're not going to include any features or changes. They are not on a schedule because we are deploying them as soon as we discover and patch the vulnerability. We purposefully keep these versions small so that they can be updated regularly and quickly. The next versions type is minor versions. So these will include bug fixes, slightly larger footprint, but not much more than just bug fixes. Then the third type is a major version. And this will include Chromium upgrades, it will include Electron upgrades, it will include security updates that have been discovered throughout the process. And our strategy here is to give you access to these builds way ahead of an actual release date. So let's look at the release calendar for this year just a little bit so that we can sort of plan ahead. So we've already released 24 and 25, and our target is to release 26 through 29 throughout this year. If we layer the minor versions, we can see that each major version is followed by a minor version, including patches and bug fixes, etc. And we can't plan for the security patches, but we've already released 5 in April, and we have a 6th one landing this week. So we're pretty active when it comes to that. I did mention early access as part of our strategy, so I'll describe our 2 pre-release channels. First one is beta. Beta is the next major version upgrade, and it's tracking pre-release versions of Chromium and Electron. This is the best version to actually try and do early validation against your application. The very next one is Canary, which is the next major version. We're tracking something close to Chromium Nightlies. So they are pre-release versions of Chromium and Electron that are part of this build, and I would say this is the perfect build to work with us on experimental features. So let's take another look at the calendar, and I'll have an example. So let's say I'm an OpenFin customer. I'm interested in upgrading to 27 in August. I can start validating my platform as soon as June, when OpenFin beta hits 27. But I can actually start smoke testing features in Canary as soon as this week, as soon as today, right now, after you leave. So as an engineering team, I can start building confidence in upgrades right now. So other than attending a FinJS, how will you know about these things? That's an excellent question, me. First off, we have a versions page. It has a ton of data, whatever versions are in beta, Canary stable. It also comes in RSS feed, if you like that. But my personal recommendation would be to be part of the distribution list. So we'll send you emails that are formatted just like this one. And we'll send you emails when we discover issues, when we're about to patch, when we patched. We'll keep you in the know. So reach out via email, like say hi. I'll have a beer or two, and we'll talk about this until you're tired and you want to go home. Thank you.